£128 million spent. Kudus is gone. Paqueta's still here. But is this chaos or a calculated control from David Sullivan? So let's peel back the layers of West Ham's most polarising transfer window yet. So, on paper, West Ham's summer transfer spending looks ambitious. It's nearly £130 million shelled out. Or was it? With names like Mateus Fernandes and El Hadji Malik Diouf brought in, but behind the scenes, David Sullivan is pulling the strings. And the decisions, they've split the fan base. They've raised eyebrows in the media and left Graham Potter with a squad that's a little bit lopsided and complex from a tactical point of view. So in this stream, we're going to deep dive into the strategy, or maybe the lack, if you believe there is, of strategy behind every move, from the players we've lost to the ones we didn't sign, and what it all means for the season ahead. Joining us to discuss all these things and more, my younger brother, Ben. How are you?
I'm good, mate. Yeah. Really good. Looking forward to chewing the fat with you over our transfer dealings.
Good. And I'm hoping that we're going to get some involvement from the watching public. Guys, get involved in the live chat. If you're watching this after we've finished, then you've got the comment section below. There might be some thoughts. There might be some opinions that you might want to counter. No problem. Every opinion is valid. Please also don't forget to drop a like on the stream. And don't forget to make sure, are you subscribed? Have a look down there. If it says you're subscribed, thank you very much. We appreciate your support. If it says you're not, if you could just click the mouse and give the channel your support so we can help grow it and move it in the right direction. We've actually broke through the 1,500 subscribers barrier, which is great news. And we thank you very much indeed for your support. Let's keep going to the next waypoint of 1,600. And we'll be there before long with your support. Thanks very much. And just to confirm, it doesn't cost you a copper coin. I know it says subscribe. It doesn't cost you a copper coin. We don't have your personal information. What's not to like? So, Ben.
Yes, mate.
So, David Sullivan, obviously the major shareholder, the chairman, and de facto, according to, I believe it was Sean Whetstone that put it out during the last couple of months, that he is the de facto director of football. So, I think it's fair to say that David Sullivan's role within transfer decisions is quite significant. Would you agree?
Yeah. Of course. Dave. Yeah. Well, mate, he owns the club. Like you say, he's the majority shareholder. He's going to have a big say in transfer dealings, as well as other members of the hierarchy, being Potter, the other sort of recruitment chiefs, Mark Noble, maybe, like whoever it may be. There might be a bit of a committee about who comes in and who, more so who comes in. I'm sure who goes out is more the manager. Yep. But, look, fundamentally, Rob, I have a job at work, and the owner of the business, fundamentally, he's the one who's going to make the final say on things. And David Sullivan is the owner of the West Ham business. So it's only natural he gets to say on what happens.
He's the owner, but I mean, is it fair to say, do you think, that he's just minding the fort? The fans are the people that were here before David Sullivan. We're going to be here after David Sullivan's gone. I know what you're saying. He's not the owner, because obviously he's got a share of the business. He doesn't own.
He's the majority shareholder,
but he's got the biggest amount of say, hasn't he?
Yeah. But Rob, I mean, I think what you've just said there about the fans and the custodians. The question is, does he have a say in the transfers? I mean, fans are never going to have a say in the transfer, are they? No. So it's not a democracy on who you're going to sign. It is the people in charge make the decisions, and we dissect whether they're good decisions or bad decisions. And obviously that's what we're going to do tonight.
What do you think of the commonly held narrative that a lot of the players that are brought in are And it has been confirmed by previous West Ham managers that David Sullivan likes to have a little bit of a dabble. He likes to bring players in that the manager doesn't actually have any involvement with. And the first that they know is when the manager turns up, or the head coach, whatever, turns up at the training ground and, oh, here's a player that I've bought for you. I mean, what sort of effect do you think that can have when you've got players that are being parachuted in that the manager's not bought into? What's the point?
Yeah, I mean, that's not ideal, Rob. I mean, I do like I like the old school way, like Alex Ferguson style. That he's the boss. But I think everything's different now. Like directors of football, sporting directors, head of recruitment. Like I don't know. There's going to be loads of different people involved, but you kind of get into it, and I think, and we'll come on to all this. Yeah, I look at the players we've bought this summer.
Yep.
And I get the feeling, am I a big Sullivan fan? Not really. But I'm not his biggest hater either. But I look at who we've bought, and I think there's probably only one of them that might be a Sullivan signing. Do you get what I'm saying? So I feel like Potter and the recruitment staff have the majority say, and Sullivan might throw a little bonus luxury player in there because he wants to be involved and give it a go. And actually, the one that I think looks like he is a Sullivan signing is probably Callum Wilson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like out of the players we've bought, and actually, so far, that's so good. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, you never quite know what's going on, but
do you not think that not Aaron Wan-Bissaka, the other one, Kyle Walker-Peters, do you not think he was a Sullivan pick? Because I do. I personally think, because we was linked with him 12 months ago, and a lot of people said that he was coming to us on a free months and months ago. Personally, I believe that Kyle Walker-Peters is a Sullivan pick as well.
Yeah. Well, if he is, then I think Sullivan's done a good job picking him, because I think he's a good player. Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm not going to fall into the narrative of, oh, fucking hell, he's just buying, Look, he was on a free transfer. That's good business.
Yep.
We've just lost Vladimir Kufal, and we need a right back. So if that's a Sullivan signing, well done, David Sullivan. A lot of people will hate on me for saying that, but if you're telling me Kyle Walker-Peters is one of his signings, then I'm happy Kyle Walker-Peters is in our squad.
Okay. I did a little bit of, and I'm not the world's biggest exponent of putting spreadsheets and whatever together, and I've cobbled this together with information that's out there. Look, it's in the public domain, okay? And I'll share my sources and all the rest of it, and people can go away and look into it and decide whether it's, a load of bollocks or whatever, and that's fine. So this is my little attempt at investigating. Now, on the left, you can see there the column attrition. So they're the players we've lost.
Rob, can I just say, you've got a son that's been to university in like accounting and finance, and he's my assistant at work. He should be doing these spreadsheets, not you.
He should, and because we had a conversation before that we were trying to get him on, but he won't do it. So it is what it is. So, but on that column there, so as far as the attrition is concerned, now I'm not going to include any players that have not made it into the first team squad, that were under 18, under 21 players, and have basically gone back out, and we're not sort of ever going to see them again. So I'm only talking about first team squad members. Okay. Yes. So we've lost 13, and they were Fabianski, Emerson, Kufal, Alvarez, Soler, Kudus, Ferguson. I know some of these players weren't fundamentally ours, but they were players in the squad. Ings, Antonio, Aguirre, Cornet, Zuma, and Cresswell. That's 13 players. Yeah. Now, they've been replaced by 8 players: Mads Hermansson, Jean-Claire Todibo. Again, I know he was with us last season, but he was on loan last season, and we've purchased him in the summer, so I've got to include him on this list.
Yeah.
Igor Julio, El Hadji Malik Diouf, Kyle Walker-Peters, Callum Wilson, Songutu Makassa, and Mateus Fernandez. Now, I'm not the biggest mathematician, but straight away there, I look at that and go, right, we're 5 players short of where we were at the end of last season.
Yeah.
Now, okay, there might be an element of that 5 that you could turn around and say there might be players that step up from the youth team. And I hope that happens, but I don't see that we're going to get 5 players stepping up at once. Maybe you'd probably be lucky if there's 2 in a season, truthfully, in my view. So I'm looking at that, Ben, and you may agree, you may disagree, but I look and I think there's a few holes in this squad. Would you agree?
Yeah. I mean, look, you can go for it, analyze it. Yeah. I do, Rob, and we can get into the detail. I don't know how you want to do it. I've actually gone through in a bit of detail each position in the squad: goalkeeper, defence, midfield, and attack.
Yep.
And I can come to the conclusion, but in summary, the answer is yes. But do you know what, Rob? Actually, I'm going to change my mind. Overall, no. Look, overall, I think we're still a few positions short. Yeah,
agreed.
But I think there's particular areas on the pitch where we're actually better than we were last season, quality-wise, and no worse off numbers-wise. But overall, I still think we could have done with probably 2 more quality signings. And in my opinion, that would be centre-back and centre-forward, maybe 2 centre-forwards. But, I don't know how you want to sort of analyse it and go through it.
Yeah, no, I'm in complete agreement. I think that, and I think people were looking at the first 2 games of the season and saying that there was a distinct lack of characters, a distinct lack of leadership. I mean, you look at that column on the left, the attrition, and okay, you could turn around and say, look, there was a lot of players there that were the other side of the hill. We lost them in one fell swoop, and we have replaced them with players that don't possibly have the same minerals. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, look, everything changes. Everything changes after a good result, kind of. Do you know what I mean? But I do feel there's a lot of experience and West Ham connection, know-how. Like, you've just got to look and say Fabianski was with us a long time, good servant and experienced. Emerson, Kufal, Alvarez, maybe not so much. Kudus, maybe not so much. But then you'd say Antonio had been with us a long time. Zuma had been our captain. Cresswell had been influential in the dressing room. So we have lost a bit of experience and West Ham tradition. Like, do you know what I mean? Like they know what it means to wear the shirt. And obviously these new lads coming in, they won't so much. But Callum Wilson's an experienced player. And to be honest, Rob, we all thought we needed some fresh legs and younger players in the squad. And actually, you've got to hold your hands up and say we have done that to a certain extent.
That's a fair point. If we also have a look at the fees. Now, I've taken the fees, rightly or wrongly, I've gone on to Transfer Market, and you can have a look there. It's all freely available. I've not used the transfer value because I know some people might say, oh, but the numbers on Transfer Market are wrong. They're just you can get the fee. The thing is, though, that it was that they use euros. Okay, so I had to go and I had to convert it and all the rest of it. So I've put it into pound sterling because, to be honest with you, euros don't mean an awful lot to me. Okay, they don't. So I'm a little bit yeah, and even then, I'm not really too clued up on it. I just sort of like get the card out, tap, and that's it. But from what I can see, for the players that we've moved on, either their contract has ended, we've sold them, loaned them out, whatever, we've got an income for those 13 players of 77.8 million thereabouts. Now, if Fenerbahce purchase Edson Alvarez, then the number jumps up to 96.9 million. Okay.
Yeah.
If we then compare and contrast that with the recruitment, again, the maths that I've managed to do, and again, it could be a little bit up, a little bit down from what it actually is, but I think it's going to be there or thereabouts. Our expenditure is 125 million and some change. But there's a clause in El Hadji Malik Diouf's contract that basically will give Slavia Prague an extra roughly 3.4 million sterling. So that will take the total up to, if he achieves that, basically 128.5 million. So basically, if we include all the add-ons, the options to buy, etc., the net expenditure in this transfer window, assuming that Fenerbahce purchase Edson Alvarez, assuming El Hadji Malik Diouf triggers the add-ons clause, will actually be 31.5 million pounds, 31.6 more or less. Again, I do have to question, and I know that you've got to cut your cloth accordingly, as we spoke earlier before we started this, but a net expenditure of 31.6 million pounds in the world of the Premier League, the crazy, crazy world of the Premier League, I'm wondering whether that's enough, Ben.
Yeah, it does seem a bit light, Rob. It does seem a bit light. I think, look, it does seem a bit light. Yeah, I haven't seen like the net expenditure across the board. But I don't really worry about that so much. I just feel like it's about what the team looks like and the squad looks like and the composition of the squad. Like I say, I think overall, Rob, if we reflect on a lot of our transfer windows over the last 5 years, or 3 to 5 years, before a ball's been kicked in the season, I've always been quite happy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, when you think back to last season, I can't remember. We're going back a year, but we brought in Füllkrug, a German international. We brought in Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Like, do you know what I mean? We're constantly bringing in players, and I think what I look at actually, is shrewd business from this transfer window, and probably more than others. And I think it goes to show with the players that we've sold is that our previous transfer windows, we've not really bought players with that much sell-on potential.
There is that.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I'd have to say Kudus obviously had a bit of a stinker of a season. The season before last, we would have got more than 55 million for him. Yeah. So if you think, if it wasn't for Kudus going for 50 million, we've sold no one for not an awful lot. Yeah. Whereas I think the players that we've bought in this transfer window, like you'd think because of their age and their potential, there's probably, Hermansen, you'd like to think will only get better. He can't get much fucking worse, can he?
Well, he kept a clean sheet on Sunday, Ben. Give him his dues.
Fucking hell. The shots that he faced, I reckon me or you could have kept a clean sheet. But you've got Hermansen, Todibo, El Hadji Malik Diouf, Magassa, Fernandez. You've got 5 youngish players that you'd like to think. And look, I don't want to sit here talking about selling players we've just bought, but that is the nature of business. And even the best clubs, Liverpool, Man United, when the Real Madrids and the Barcelonas come calling, their players get bought as well. That will get some good recovery on their fees. So, look, we do look a little bit light. But if I'm honest, Rob, you look at some of the players that left, i.e., I don't know, Michael Antonio and Danny Ings,
Yeah.
They contributed the best part of fuck all to last season anyway.
Fair.
You know, and if it gives someone like Callum Marshall an opportunity, I'm all for it.
Do you think, though, Ben, that it's a very strange dynamic for a Premier League club in the year 2025 to have, whereby your major shareholder, your chairman, is also doubling up as the director of football? Do you think that that is actually something that we should look at and try and make a sort of different direction of travel? Or, you know, because we obviously got rid of Tim Stuyton, that relationships went sort of like a little bit pear-shaped. That's fine, but we've not replaced him. Do you think that we, you know, in the modern era of football, the way that, you know, agents operate and the way that the wheels turn in Premier League football, do you think we're disadvantaged by having our chairman doubling up as our DOF?
Probably. Probably. But he's give it a go with Stuyton. We brought it. Is it Keep something Macaulay? Who's this Macaulay guy?
Yeah, he's basically, as I understand it, and I hope if people want to tell me I'm wrong, please feel free to correct me. My understanding is he's basically been someone that's followed Graham Potter for most, if not all, of his managerial coaching career. And he's effectively a data analyst by trade. And he's now effectively our head of recruitment, I believe, is his official title.
So
but
the thing
basically,
is,
they identify what they believe is the players they want, Potter and Macaulay. They then normally would hand on to a director of football a list of players to say, this is our wish list. Go, can you make this happen? Negotiate the deal.
Yeah.
But the director of football at West Ham is effectively David Sullivan.
Well, I've got to be honest, Rob. And look, like I say, I don't want to sound like I'm kissing David Sullivan's ass. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But quite frankly, and look, I'm not involved in football. Yeah. I'm a QS. So what the fuck do I know? Yeah. But we've got Mark Noble, right? What's Mark Noble's role?
I am very much unable to answer that question, other than to possibly say he's involved with the academy in some way, shape, or form.
Right.
Other than that, I'm not sure.
Right. So in my mind, Noble's in there sort of banging the drum for the youth team. Yeah. Like in trying to organise that. You've then got the manager, head coach, but he's the manager in my mind. He picks the team. He is going to identify players. Oh, I like the look of him. I'd like to have him. Yeah.
Yep.
Then you've got this head of recruitment, and he's saying, we analyse the data. Yeah, Graham, he's a really good player. Write them all down. Give them to a director of football. That I've got to be straight with you. David Sullivan, even though he's a little cretin and a little fucking tosser, right? He's obviously quite a good businessman, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? He didn't create businesses he's done and the wealth he's got to buy West Ham by being a shit businessman. So actually, he can go and negotiate them. I don't, you know, in that case, if that's all the director of football's doing is negotiating the deals, then let David Sullivan do it. I mean, when I hear some of the rumours of what goes on, I do feel like some of the way we operate could leave us a bad taste in the mouth to certain people. Like when you hear whatever's it, you know, the Brazilian goalies at the airport. I don't like this. I don't like this. We seem to have numerous bids in for the similar player. Like we'll have 5 bids in for a goalie, and then it's like, well, you know what I mean? It's like you're messing people about. But if that's just the nature of how it goes, listen, I think we conduct our business better? Yes. But I've got to be honest, Rob, the fundamental is all I really care about is the standard of football on the pitch. And, you know, if some Brazilian goalie's he's pissed off and he's upset because he thought he was coming West Ham and we pulled the plug in the last hour, I'll feel sad for about 10 seconds and then I'm not going to feel sad for some geezer that's on 50 grand a week. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Fair enough. So as far as the departures are concerned, Ben, who are the ones that you think, if any, we're actually going to miss between now and at least the January transfer window?
I might. I mean, are we going to get into the nitty gritty detail, or shall I do that now?
Do what you need to do, mate. It's an open forum.
Right. Okay. So I've done a bit of preparation for this one.
Good man. Like it.
Right. So
have you got a spreadsheet as well?
Sorry, no, I don't. No, just a scrap of paper, and a pen.
It'll do. It'll do.
So I'm looking at it, and each. Yeah, I mean that's fucking criminal.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But look, I think if I'm looking for it goalkeeper wise, I'm going to have to say the jury's still out on this Hermansen.
Yeah,
very much so. So I've looked at it, and what I'm doing, Rob, I'm kind of looking, has our goalkeeping area improved or gone down? Not improved, and I actually have to say, at this moment in time, I think it's probably gone down.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't see, and look, it's a very small sample size, 3 games. I get that, but as I stand here right now, I don't think Hermansen is looking like he's a betterment on Lucas Fabianski. Look, he's younger. He may improve. And look, I can only judge it on what I believe. Mads Hermansen, look, yeah. So I think goalkeeper wise, I think we're slightly worse off at this moment in time.
Yeah.
Defensively, I'll go for it in terms of the departure and then who I see as the replacement, and then we'll go from there. So
I did that on the spreadsheet. You might notice there was some of the attrition that was in red, and they're the ones that I don't think we've replaced.
Yeah. So I'll go for it, right? And I'll say Emerson leaving, I think it was a good servant.
Absolutely.
But being replaced by El Hadj Malik Diouf, I think at this moment in time, and I'm not talking about Emerson 2 or 3 years ago at his peak. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about right now where I see them, and I actually see that as I think that's an improvement in the left back position.
Okay.
And like I say, I think we've seen what El Hadj Malik Diouf can bring to the table last week with the cross for the 3rd goal. So I think we have improved the left back position. I think we've improved. I agree. That is that is what I will say. Our selling prices are fucking abysmal. Really.
According to what I got from Transfer Market, it's actually not even as much as that. I've got it just a shade over 600,000, but it's there or thereabouts.
Yeah. You'd think you'd be getting between 5 and 10 million for Emerson, surely.
I don't know how long was left on his contract, and all right, he wasn't going to be used by Graham Potter, but yeah, that's just anywhere between 600 and 700,000, wherever it is. It's like that's you probably wouldn't get a League 2 player for that.
Yeah. So that's that. I think Vladimir Kufal, great servant, but towards the end, weren't really cutting it. Would just back off and get rinsed. I think Carl Walker-Peters is an improvement in the right back position.
I'd go with that.
I think Naif Agurd, never, always. I was never convinced with him. I think he'd have one good game in 5, and the reality is the Sunderland game. That's a great snapshot of him. He was out jumped by someone who's less than 6 foot, and he's 6'3", because the reality is the guy wanted it more than him, and Agurd won't put his head in where it hurts. So I don't know anything about Igor Julio, but I tell you what, he looks a hard cunt.
Yeah,
he looks like, I don't know if it's the tattoo on the neck, the skinhead. He looks like someone you wouldn't really fancy running into in a dark alley. So on that basis, I'm going to say he's an improvement on Naif for good, because he can't be any worse, in my opinion.
Well, I think Naif Aguirre, from what the stories are that I'm hearing, and not just recently, but going back over maybe a year or two, I'm going to say it. And this is what I'm about to say might come across as quite strong, and the language I'm going to use possibly could be something that triggers people. I'm sorry, I've got to say how I see it. I think that Naif Aguirre was a cancer in our dressing room, an absolute cancer.
Right.
And I know that some people might think that's quite strong terminology for me to use, but he was a disease that was, and if allowed to sort of not be treated, he would have spread. Get him as soon as he started agitating for the move that he did, just get him gone. I don't care how much we lose on the deal, just get him the fuck gone, because he can damage the morale in this place very quickly.
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest, Rob. It's on Potter for putting him back in the team.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just don't. And I said this the other week. I'm telling you, Rob, if he was persevering with the back three, you'd have been better off keeping Cresswell and him putting him in there than Agard. I genuinely think that. So look, Agard's gone. Igor Julio's in. I think that's an improvement. Yeah, even without seeing him, And do you know what? There's part of me that, even though I don't know much about Igor Julio, I just feel like he seems like he's got a bit of experience. Like, when you just look at him, and he's played a fair few games for Brighton. He can't be a mug. Like, Brighton are a good side. Do you know what I mean? So look, and I'll be straight with you. Brighton's back three have always been really good.
Yep.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like Lewis Dunk, Adam Webster, they've always had some real good centre halves. So just because someone's Brighton's fifth choice doesn't mean they're completely shit.
Is he a Craig Dawson 2.0 potentially?
I'd love it if he was. I'd love it if he was, Rob. And actually, he's a good age. He's got an opportunity. So good luck to him. Zuma's gone, and Jean-Claire Todibo's come in and replaced him, in theory.
Yep.
Again, Zuma, great servant, but he couldn't run. He was done and dusted. And then the only one that, in theory, has left defensive-wise, and we haven't replaced him, is Aaron Cresswell. But you could, in my mind, you could say we have, with Ollie Scholes, that our backup left back has now come up from the youth team. And I think that will be the case. If El Hadj Malik Diouf is injured or rested, Scholes will come in at left back. So I will have to say, defensively, I think we are better off than last season.
Okay.
Well, now that I've analysed each person that's left and come in, albeit I do think we are, even though I can say we're better, I still don't think we're good defensively. I'll be straight with you. There's probably, in a top team, I don't think any of our centre halves get in the side. So, I think.
What do you think about this point from Dead Fallout? Because he seems to think that Igor Julio was a Sullivan pick, and he got the cheapest option because we beat Forest. And it is one of those things, and we'll never know what the answer is. If we'd have not beat Forest and we'd have shipped 3-4 goals again, what would he have possibly got a better quality centre half? Did he sort of look at the fact that we went away to Forest, got a 3-0, and he's gone, I can kind of get a bit of a stopgap sort of cheapo signing?
I can't argue with that. Dead Fallout. Like I said, he's basically saying what I'm saying, just in other words, that I think we need better centre halves across the board. Mavropanos, he played well in that one game. Overall, I don't really rate any of our centre halves that highly. But it's a team game, and if we can get a combination working well together, then hopefully we can. But obviously, I've just kind of reviewing who's gone out and who's come in. Like I say,
Yeah.
I would have liked a real dominating centre half to come in. Like, you know, I know people might say we would never have got him because he was going to go Liverpool. Well, why not going for Mark Gahey? Why not go? Why not? Why couldn't we have just gone to? He probably wouldn't have wanted to come, but in the summer, when bearing in mind he's still a Palace player, yeah.
Yep.
When the summer comes, go to Palace. We give you 50 million for Gahey right now, right at the start of the summer. They probably would have accepted it, and then all of a sudden he's got a decision to make. Do you get what I mean? That would have been the statement. Similar, like kind of statement signing. Charlie Cresswell, yes, albeit, like I say, I would have liked at the end of last season, I would have liked 2 centre halves, and that is not necessarily even replacing people that have left. I think we needed 2 probably starting centre halves. Cresswell could have been one, but he's still a young lad. Gahey would have been unbelievable, and I think it could have been doable. Do you get what I mean? It's about money talks, doesn't it? You know. So anyway, that didn't happen. But so right, let's move on for Paw in the Air, slow, error prone. Yeah, I mean it don't sound great.
I guess we'll see. You know, like I say, a lot of people said the same. I remember Watford fans when Dawson turned up saying how crap he was. And remember, we signed him on loan, and he was probably on the bench and didn't get a kick for probably a good 10 games. And I think it was away at Southampton when he made his debut. We kept a clean sheet. I think it was a 1-0 win, if I remember correctly. And he never looked back. And we fell in love with him, and it was great.
Yeah. So let's give the lad a chance. So moving into midfield, Rob. And I might have I've put the 3 down that have gone out, and some people might challenge one of them as being a midfielder, but I don't really know where you put him. So I've going to say Soler, Alvarez, and Cornet are the midfielders that have left. Now Cornet, you can say he's an attacker, you could say he's a defender. I've just put him into midfield.
Yeah, fair enough.
And I would say you've got them 3 left, and I'd say, you know, Soler's gone and Fernandez is come in. I'd say that's a step in the right direction. Some young, you know, even though Soler was half decent in patches,
Yeah.
He didn't set the world alight. Otherwise, we'd have tried to keep him, and we didn't. And then Alvarez has gone, and then Magas has come in. That's probably the similar level. Obviously, I've not seen Magassa play, but he's younger. And Alvarez was a bit of a liability. You didn't know if he was going to get sent off or booked. And I think he would give his all most of the time, but he could go missing quite a lot. And technically, he didn't have the best range of passing, you know. So I think overall, Rob, I'd say midfield we've probably improved by bringing in these 2 young lads with legs that can get around the pitch and dictate the game a little bit more and influence the game a little bit more. So I think, like I say, goalkeeper, probably not so much. Defensive midfield, yeah, I think there's a slight improvement there. But it was a weird one. Alvarez went and got the player of the tournament in the Gold Cup. And you kind of thought, hold on, like surely he's got a bit about him. Are we just not utilising him in the right way? You know, and there was times when you think back, you know, I don't know if it was last season or the season before when we beat Everton 3-2, and he burst through in the last minute and put one in. And you're thinking, if that guy can do that, have we just not used him to the best of his abilities? I do feel the Alvarez transfer is a bit odd. You know, there was probably there was probably defenders, midfielders you might have got rid of before him. For example, Andy Irving, James Ward-Prowse. I think most people would have said there's a couple of midfielders that you'd probably have got rid of before Edson Alvarez. However, maybe you got a little bit more money than you'd get for them.
Peter's come in with a question, Ben, before you go on with your analysis of the squad, which I'm loving, by the way. Ask the question, as far as James Ward-Prowse is concerned, would you start him in this team? Would you put him on the bench, or would you move him on to pastures new if you was making that decision?
Well, I wouldn't sell him. I wouldn't dump him. I think, like I said in the post-match analysis, Potter's got a job on his hands fitting all these midfielders in now.
Yeah.
Technically, he probably drops out to the bench, but I can't but help like James Ward-Prowse. Do you know what I mean? I like he's an honest footballer. He's English. He's always going to have that delivery on him. He will put his foot in, but I think he will, naturally find himself on the bench more often than not now that we've got numbers over James Ward-Prowse.
Yeah, you'd think so.
Yeah. He's slow. He is slow. He's not the most progressive. He's not got a big physical presence. He doesn't get around the pitch that much. He's a fairly average Premier League player now. And to be honest, being average in the Premier League, you get found out very easily.
Yeah, so, he's better than a footballer than you and I was, but
to be honest, how old is Ward-Prowse now?
Oh, he's got to be about 30, isn't he?
Yeah.
Tell you what, let me just have a look since you've asked the question. I'm gonna have a look. The oracle that is Wikipedia.
He's only 30.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's a young pup.
Yeah. So look, I still think there's a place for him in our squad, and I think he's the sort of what I believe is the sort of professional that he would be a fairly decent influence in the dressing room, and I don't think he'd be kicking off and cutting up rough if he's not starting every week.
Yeah, fair enough. So you've got into midfield. What else do you want to have a little?
No, that's it. That's it in terms of midfield. And then coming into attack,
yep,
I would have to say this is the one area that we are a fair bit weaker in.
Yeah.
That we've lost in an attacking sense. Kudus, Evan Ferguson, who didn't do anything anyway.
Didn't do nothing, no.
Yeah. So we've lost Kudus, Ferguson, Antonio, and Ings, and we've brought in Callum Wilson, who's an injury-prone guy. It is. I get that Bowen might be able to shift into the forward position, but I do genuinely think, we're an injury or two away from not having a striker, and when you look at some of the options some of the other teams have got and have had that have consistently finished below us in the league, I kind of think, how the fuck have we got ourselves in this position, not having any attacking options? But we every 90% of the fan base would have said at the end of the season we need a striker. Antonio,
we've said that for years, though, haven't we?
We have, mate. And to be honest, you have to say we have brought strikers in, and none of them really work out. Skamaka, Haller, that we buy. And Antonio used to say they're always trying to replace me, but then Antonio would beat them off in a sense of that. You've always got to plan ahead and succession planning.
Yeah.
But what's happened is we brought in Haller, we brought in Scamacca to succeed from Antonio. Both of those left before Antonio, and now Antonio's left, and we brought in Callum Wilson, who, regardless of his injury record, he's slightly younger. He's slightly younger, and he looked very sharp the weekend. But we've lost Kudus, who obviously was one of our main attacking threats and goal scorers, and we haven't really replaced him.
Were you a fan of Kudus before he obviously wore that shirt?
Oh, mate, there was the season, but last season he obviously weren't really busting a gut to the mentality obviously weren't there, so he weren't really trying that hard, it would seem, because he didn't want to be there. But there's no doubt he's a very talented footballer, and Kudus at the top of his game would be an asset to our team right now. That's 100%. So I think we're lacking a little bit, and what showed, even though we won, we looked very narrow the weekend. So look, I think hopefully we can get through to January and maybe do a bit more work there, because I do think we are light up top. We are light up top, and I think Fulkrug's concerning me.
Yeah,
with his form, and Wilson. All it takes, he's injury prone. All it takes is a knock to him. Fulkrug's out of form. And then you're going to have to, Callum Marshall, he's untested. He's more of a winger. And I think if people are injured, you've ended up moving Bowen up front, and we lose. He's much, much better out wide.
Yeah, I agree. Who do you think, in regard of the players that we've signed now, those 8 players that we've brought in, who for you is the one that you look at and go, oof, yeah, he's good. He's gonna be a star of the future.
You could probably only say Mateus Fernandez right at this moment in time, based on feedback, promising first game. But like I say, El Hadj Malik Diouf has made it's only one game, decent start. Kyle Walker-Peters, solid start. They're all the right age, Rob, to try and develop and get better with us. So Magassa, obviously we've not seen him yet, but he was playing a few games for Monaco, wasn't he? He
played Champions League football.
Well, this is it, mate. He's obviously got the pedigree. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing him and how he fits into the side, because from people saying we've got no legs and looking light in midfield, all of a sudden I'm intrigued as to how we're going to piece them all together.
Yeah, fair point. Obviously, I said earlier that we're effectively 5 players light from where we finished last season. As I say, I do have to caveat that with, but I do understand that there might be a player or two possibly emerging from the youth team.
Yeah.
But what do you think the implications are in terms of tactics, in terms of being able to rotate and rest players and all of those other things, that having the deep squad, the quality? What do you think the implications are for Graham Potter?
Well, I think we do have the numbers in midfield and defence. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I just think we are And it's all a game of risk, isn't it? You know, you might be okay. Even though I don't necessarily think we've got the quality in defence, I think we've probably got the numbers to make it work. Midfield, I think we're all right. I just think we're one injury in attack.
You're welcome, Chris. You're welcome.
We're one injury in attack to being down to the bare bones completely.
Yeah.
Whether that's full crew. Imagine if full crew gets injured, you've got to play Callum Wilson every game up front, and there's no alternative. Which, you know, this is a lad who's got a bad injury record and didn't score a goal last season, albeit he's nicked one this season.
Yep.
I just don't like the idea of having to put Bowen back up front. You know, all of a sudden, you know, not that he's signing. We've got Luis Gilherme coming back. That I think he looked half decent in pre-season. So look, maybe Potter thinks that having that smaller, tight-knit squad is not so bad because he thinks Bowen can go up front and Gilherme can, or George Murphy can go out on the wing. Do you know what I mean? So look, have we got a great squad? Probably not. But we've strengthened. We could have done more up front, especially. We could have done more at centre back. But broadly speaking, I'm fairly happy with the squad that we've got.
Fair enough. What do you think of the reaction to the transfer window from a lot of the fans, of the media? Is there sort of like, what have you observed from that angle in terms of what people outside the bubble of West Ham United think of the transfer business? Do you think they think we've had a good window?
Do you know what, Rob? I think what it is we left it too late. Yeah, is that if we'd have bought Fernandez and Magassa 2 months ago, and then we probably wouldn't have started so badly and got pummeled. Do you know what I mean? If we'd have brought in Igor Julio and got rid of a Gerd and didn't start a Gerd, but you can't go back in time.
Yeah,
I think overall, Rob, I'm saying I'm quite happy with our business. However, I think we've done it too late. Like I say, I still think we're a couple of players short. And why wait? You know what we have that it is the Sullivan penny pinching, which is very frustrating because we could have gone and got Fernandez 2 months ago, and probably started him in the first 2 games, and who knows, we might not get beat. So yeah, I think overall people would think our transfer business is okay, but that's only because we turned it round in the last minute.
Fair enough.
What's your opinion?
I think exactly the same as you. I think that we got out of the blocks far too late for me. Far too late. The thing that frustrated me, and this was why I mentioned about the director of football, David Sullivan, occupying both roles effectively, and I don't think he can do it, truth be told. I don't think he can wear both hats to the fullest capability that he needs to in the Premier League era. Yeah. In that he apparently came out when Stuyton was waved a cheery fuckety by. It was put out by Sean Whetstone, who's basically very close, let's put it that way, to David Sullivan. He has his ear and vice versa. And put out a tweet saying that David Sullivan was the de facto director of football. Now, you then fast forward to this transfer window and it's edging on. And we're sitting here going, well, where's the signings? When are they going to sort of really start coming through? We're under strength here. And then it was like Sullivan comes out and says, the board are now going to get involved. And I'm like, wait a minute. You're the director of football. What do you mean you're going to get involved? You should have been involved from the fucking start, mate.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, look, overall, what would I give? If I was giving it a rating out of 10, I'd probably give it a 6. Do you get what I mean? It's probably average. I would have liked more. I think if we'd have bought, if we'd have got a top centre half and a top striker, it could have been a really good window. But overall, it's just overall we've probably marginally improved across the board, but we're a bit light in the attacking sense. But the proof will be in the pudding, won't it? So every week that goes by, you'll see a little bit more out of these players, and then more Potter's squad, and hopefully we keep on with the upturn in fortune.
Any final thoughts before we knock it on the head, bruv?
No, man, just really covered it off. Look, the window's shut now, so yeah, like it or lump it, we've got what we've got.
Yeah.
And to be honest, Rob, when you think about it, you actually said this. Somerville's come back. Somerville is like a new signing.
Yeah, kind of.
Luis Guilherme didn't get much of a look in. Maybe Potter has seen enough. He thinks there's enough within the ranks of players that were floating around or coming back from injury that we've got a bit of firepower up front to bang in the goals. So in Potter we trust.
In Potter we trust. There we shall end things. So guys at home, please, thank you for joining us. Please don't forget to drop a like on this stream. That helps out massively. Make sure you check down below to see whether you are subscribed. If you are not, then please make sure that you rectify that, and it doesn't cost you a copper coin. We don't have any of your data sensitive information. We are now at 1,510 subscribers. We're moving in the right direction. Only another 90 to go till 1,600. So let's keep the momentum going, guys. Share this content onto your social media platforms. And if you're watching this after the event, obviously you won't be able to put anything in the live chat, so get something in the comments below. And look, you know, there might be things that both Ben and I have discussed and said that you think fundamentally you disagree with. Not a problem. Get it in the section below, and we'll try and get stuck into it after the fact. And guys, thanks for joining us. Just one thing left to say. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.